Hello friends, this is Vaibhav Purandare here, and my new video is about the torture suffered by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar in the Andamans or at Kaala Paani. Vinayak Damodar Savarkar or Veer Savarkar was sentenced to 2 terms of life imprisonment by the British Raj. Yes, not 1 term of life imprisonment but 2 terms. And Savarkar was told to serve his 2 terms not concurrently, which meant at the same time, but consecutively, which meant one after the other. So he would have to spend 25 years in jail for one particular conviction. After that, another 25 years in jail in the second case. That meant he would have to serve 50 years in prison in all. When he went to the Andamans and was kept in the Port Blair jail, he was kept in solitary confinement for long periods of time. The British maintained jail records very carefully, and they have maintained what they have called the jail history ticket of V.D. Savarkar. I have referred to that jail history ticket and it gives details of the kind of punishment that Savarkar received. It mentions, for example, that early on in his term of imprisonment, Savarkar was kept in solitary confinement for 6 months at a stretch. He was kept in a cell number 52, which was directly opposite the gallows. From there you could see the gallows. So if people were being hanged there and they were routinely hanged there, he could directly see what was happening. This was an attempt obviously at his psychological and mental breakdown by the British Raj. The British Raj looked at Savarkar as a dangerous political agitator. The British Secret Service had a secret file on him from 1907 onwards. And because he was considered a very dangerous political revolutionary fighting for India's freedom, he was given an unprecedented legal punishment, which was 2 life terms. That was the kind of punishment that was given to nobody else. So long periods of solitary confinement. Then he was asked to work on the oil press. That meant instead of bullocks or buffaloes being tied to the oil mill, a human being, that is Savarkar, was tied to the oil mill, and he was told to go round and round and produce a certain quantity of oil. Other prisoners have written about their horrific experiences grinding the oil mill, and they have written that 10 minutes into the exercise they would invariably faint because it was extremely bad. It was nothing but torture. If they were thirsty, wanted to drink water, were exhausted and on the verge of fainting, they did not get water. They were not given water. Water came in the form of liquid in 2 broken coconut shells. The prisoners could have only twice a day. That too at times when the British officials, the jail officials, wanted to give them water, not when a prisoner wanted water. So Savarkar was told to work the oil press. Savarkar was given something known as standing fetters. Standing fetters means you have your hands stretched, extended high above your head, and they are chained to fetters which are tethered to the wall, and you have to stand in that position for 8 consecutive hours from morning until evening. What if you are hungry? No, you can't have food. What if you are thirsty? No, you can't have water either. What if you want to use a toilet? No, you can't do that either. They would routinely and regularly soil themselves on the spot. And at the end of the day, when the prison warder or the official came, the warder or the official would abuse the prisoner for having dirtied the jail cell. That was another kind of torture. The third kind of torture was crossbar fetters. Now, crossbar fetters were a kind of triangular thing. It was a triangular metal kind of bar. You were tied to the ankles. It was fitted to your ankles, the ankles of both legs, and there was a bar that went across the waist and then came high up to form a triangle. What it did was that the prisoner was chained in such a way that the back pain that he suffered was practically unbearable, and their back became very stiff, and there was tremendous back pain all through the day whenever those fetters were used, when those crossbar fetters were used. Prisoners considered as politically dangerous by the Raj, like Savarkar, were made to stand all day with those crossbar fetters. So the pain was unbearable. So this is the kind of brutal torture that Savarkar and other political prisoners suffered at Kaala Paani. It is true that Savarkar wrote 7 letters, at least 7 letters or 7 mercy petitions seeking his release from the Andaman prison. But it is stupid and it's childish to say that he was a traitor because he wrote such mercy petitions. Because the thing we have to keep in mind is that the representations made in writing by a prisoner under such conditions of unbearable torture cannot be considered as a genuine testimony of what the prisoner is thinking or feeling. Was Savarkar the only one to write such petitions? Not at all. Before Savarkar went to the Andamans, was sent to the Andamans in the year 1911, in the year 1908 itself, some of the Bengali revolutionaries who were involved in Khudiram Bose's plot, like Satyendranath Bose, they wrote mercy petitions to the British Raj. It was a legal mechanism available to a prisoner. While Savarkar was at Kaala Paani between the years 1911 and 1921, because after 21 he was moved to a jail on the Indian mainland. But between that decade of 1911 and 1921, there were many political prisoners at Kaala Paani along with him. One of them was Barendra Kumar Ghosh. Barendra Kumar Ghosh, or Barin Ghosh as he was called, was the brother of very famous revolutionary Aurobindo Ghosh. Yes, Sri Aurobindo as we know him. Barin, like his brother, was part of a group of Bengali revolutionaries and he was sent to Kaala Paani for that very reason by the British authorities. And he also wrote similar mercy petitions for his release from Kaala Paani while Savarkar was still there. Many others at Kaala Paani who were with Savarkar wrote similar petitions. After Savarkar was out of Kaala Paani and came to an Indian prison in the year 1921, and after he was released from that prison in 1924 with several restrictions being imposed upon him, in the mid-1920s there was the Kakori conspiracy case. This was a conspiracy which the British termed as a conspiracy to take funds from a government train that was to pass by the United Provinces, and it contained government funds from the government treasury. So the Indians looked at these funds as Indian funds which the British had taken, and they wanted to loot that particular train so that the money could be used for the freedom struggle. Many people were arrested in that case. It's one of the remarkable cases of India's freedom struggle. Sachindranath Sanyal, Ashfaqullah Khan and many others. But whether it was Ashfaqullah Khan or Sachindranath Sanyal or others who were hanged in that case, they all wrote mercy petitions. Thankfully, fortunately, luckily, we do not call all of these revolutionaries as traitors. Unfortunately, Savarkar has been labelled as a traitor because he wrote those mercy petitions. No, he wasn't a traitor. He was a freedom fighter. He was one of India's pioneering freedom fighters, in fact, because he called for complete independence for India in the early years of the 20th century. This was a time when the Indian National Congress was only talking about dominion status and was only sending petitions and pleas to the British government and was not demanding complete independence of Purna Swaraj. The Congress's Purna Swaraj resolution came in the year 1929. So at least 25 years before that, Savarkar had demanded and pressed the demand for complete independence of India from the British Raj. And he was a leading Indian revolutionary, a group of young and patriotic Londons whom he led in London during his 5 tumultuous years in London, because of which he was targeted by the British Raj. Thank you, dear friends, for having seen and heard this video. If you liked it, do press the like button, and also in case you haven't still subscribed, do subscribe and do click on the notification button, the bell button, so that you get notifications every time a new video is uploaded on my channel. Thank you so much and see you soon.